What if silence is your greatest weapon in a world obsessed with noise? What if your power doesn't lie in what you share, but in what you choose to protect? And what if the less they know about you, the less control they'll ever have over you? There's something undeniably powerful about silence, about keeping parts of yourself tucked away, protected from the chaos of the world. In an age where oversharing is the norm and everyone rushes to post, comment, confess, and broadcast every emotion, choosing to stay private isn't weakness, it's wisdom. When people don't know much about you, they can't predict your next move. They can't sabotage your intentions. And more importantly, they can't twist your words into weapons. Privacy is power. We're conditioned to believe that openness is a form of honesty, that the more we share, the more authentic we seem. That telling our stories, revealing our struggles, and exposing our dreams brings us closer to others. But here's the truth. Not everyone who listens to you has good intentions. Some people listen only to learn your weaknesses. They nod and smile, pretend to care, offer comforting words, but deep down, they're taking mental notes. One day, they might use those confessions not to support you, but to manipulate you, judge you, or even mock you behind your back. The less people know, the less power they hold. Look around today. People spill their hearts online. They share their fears with strangers. They bear their pain for likes, validation, or a fleeting sense of connection. And then they wonder why betrayal finds them, why rumors spread, or why progress seems blocked. But here's the reality. When you give away pieces of your life freely, you give others permission to rewrite your story, to tell you who you are, what you deserve, and what you should settle for. But when you keep your plans to yourself, when you protect your energy, your emotions, your private world, you stay in control. You keep your power where it belongs, with you. Think about the people who truly influence the world. They don't announce every move. They don't post every thought. Yet somehow they're always 3 steps ahead. Why? Because they understand. It is truth. Privacy protects progress. The moment you speak too soon, share too much, you open the door for interference. It could come in the form of jealousy, doubt, negativity, or simply opinions you never asked for. And not all opinions are meant to be heard. Have you ever noticed that the loudest people, the ones always talking about their next big thing, often achieve the least? That's because talking gives a false sense of accomplishment. You say you're going to do something, people applaud, and suddenly it feels like you've already succeeded. But you haven't done the work. You've just performed a promise. Meanwhile, the real winners, they don't seek applause. They don't need validation. They simply execute. And by the time anyone realizes what they've done, it's already finished. Being private doesn't mean shutting people out. It doesn't mean isolating yourself or hiding who you are. It simply means being intentional with what you share and with whom you share it. Not everyone deserves access to your struggles. Not everyone has earned the right to hear your dreams. Not everyone should be trusted with your vulnerability. And the moment you start filtering who gets what, you'll feel it. Your peace deepens. The noise around you fades. The drama loses its grip. And your focus becomes sharper than ever before. There's a reason why many of the most successful people in the world are also the most private. Because when you protect your energy, you create space. Space for growth, space for clarity, space for happiness. So the next time you feel the urge to overshare, when you're about to tell someone your next move, or vent to anyone who's willing to listen, pause. Ask yourself, do they really need to know this? Will this information serve me or expose me? Because once your truth is out, you can't take it back. Privacy is power. Use it wisely, because not everyone clapping for you wants you to win. Not everyone smiling in your face means you well. Some people are simply collecting information, watching, waiting, ready to use what they know for their own gain. And that's exactly why in the next part, we'll explore how to recognize those people and how to protect yourself before it's too late. In a world where privacy protects progress, the danger isn't always in what you say. It's in who you say it to. Because not everyone you share your truth with is holding it with care. Some people won't betray your trust right away. They'll smile, listen, nod like a friend, then quietly store your words like ammunition. They keep your secrets in their back pocket, waiting for the right moment. And when jealousy creeps in, when their insecurities bubble to the surface, when they feel threatened by your growth, that's when they strike. That's when private Details you thought were safe suddenly show up in gossip. That's when doubts are whispered behind your back. That's when you realize the person you trusted wasn't a friend at all, but a spy disguised in kindness. Have you ever noticed how something in your life started to unravel right after you spoke on it? You were making silent progress, things were flowing, everything felt aligned. And then excitedly you shared your next move with the wrong person. Suddenly, doors closed, energy shifted, confusion entered. That's not coincidence. Some people don't need to sabotage you with their hands. Their energy alone, their silent envy, their passive resentment, their subtle disbelief is enough to shake things off course. That's why you must be mindful, not paranoid, not fearful, just mindful. It's not about shutting people out entirely. It's about understanding who's genuinely for you and who's just watching from the sidelines, waiting to see what they can gain or claim. Some people stick close only to say they were there when you made it. Some hover nearby so they can take credit for your success. Others stay just close enough to make sure you never get too far ahead of them. And then there are those who stay connected only because they enjoy comparing themselves to you, competing in secret, waiting to feel superior when you stumble. Problem is, you usually don't see it until it's too late, until they've used your words against you, until they've gotten what they needed and vanished. That's why protecting your dreams, your personal life, your fears and your goals is not just wise, it's necessary. The less they know, the less they can twist. The less they know, the less they can judge. The less they know, the less power they have. And don't assume that just because someone's been around a long time, they're automatically loyal. Time doesn't prove loyalty, character does. Some people will stand beside you for years, pretending to support you, while secretly hoping you never grow beyond their comfort. They'll say encouraging things to your face, but quietly cast a doubt behind your back. That's why you have to pay close attention, not just to their words, but to their energy. When something good happens for you, do they celebrate fully or fall strangely silent? Do they support you without hesitation or slip in small comments that leave you second guessing yourself? The signs are always there. You just have to be willing to see them. At the end of the day, you don't owe anyone access to your life. You don't have to explain your moves, your goals, or your struggles to anyone who hasn't earned your trust. Your energy, your peace, your privacy, these are sacred. Guard them. Because once you give them away too freely, you lose the power to control what happens next. You hand your story to someone else, and more often than not, you realize too late. You told the wrong person. There's something magnetic about someone who moves quietly, someone who doesn't overshare, someone who doesn't need to constantly explain who they are. Mystery demands respect. When people can't figure you out, when they don't know your next move, when they can't fit you into a box, they watch. They wonder. And that wonder is what keeps you in control. Because people are naturally curious. They want to know what you're up to. Not out of concern, but to measure you, label you, box you in. And the moment they think they've figured you out, they stop paying attention. They stop respecting your boundaries. They stop listening for depth because they think they already know everything. That's why you must keep something for yourself. A corner of your life untouched. A part of your mind unsaid. A piece of your heart unseen. Look at the most influential people. The ones who walk into a room and shift the entire energy. It's not because they're loud. It's not because they demand attention. It's because they carry a presence that doesn't need to be explained. They don't over-explain. They don't overshare. They let people wonder. Because the more you talk, the less impact your words carry. The more you try to prove yourself, the easier you are to challenge. The more you explain, the more you open the door for others to debate who you are. But that all changes when you choose silence. And in the next part, we'll talk about what happens when you stop defending yourself and let your actions speak louder than any words ever could. When people can't quite figure you out, they start paying closer attention. That's the power of silence, of mystery, of not explaining everything. You see, once you begin to say less, once you move with intention and stop giving away every detail, you become untouchable. Have you ever noticed how the people who talk the most are usually the ones taken the least seriously? That's because oversharing dilutes impact. When you constantly explain yourself, when you give everyone front row seats to your inner world, people start to believe they own a piece of it. They begin to assume they have a say in your life, a right to critique or challenge your decisions. And once they feel like they can predict you, they stop respecting you. But when they can't tell what's next, when they don't know what you're really thinking, when they realize they can't box you in or decode your every move, that's when things shift. That's when they begin to respect your presence. It's not about being cold. It's not about building walls. It's about being intentional, about choosing what parts of you are sacred and who is worthy of access. Some people think being open is brave. That telling the world everything is a sign of realness. But the truth is, real strength isn't found in what you reveal. It's found in what you protect. It's knowing that not every thought needs an audience. Not every emotion requires a platform. Not every plan needs a preview. Because the moment people feel they figured you out, they stop wondering. They stop watching. They stop listening with curiosity. And when people stop being curious, they start underestimating you. But when they don't know everything, when all they can do is guess, you keep the upper hand. That uncertainty, that's where your power lives. So stop rushing to explain yourself. Stop giving away the blueprint to your life. Stop feeling obligated to tell people more than they've earned. Let them wonder. Let them guess. Let them sit with the fact that they don't know everything about you. Because when people realize they can't define you, they're left with no choice but to respect you. One of the most common mistakes people make is assuming everyone around them should know everything. Every win, every loss, every struggle, every moment of doubt. They believe that transparency leads to connection, but the opposite is often true. The more you share, the more access you give, and the more drama you invite. Not everyone needs to know what you're going through. Not everyone deserves access to your thoughts. And not everyone will handle your vulnerability with care. Have you ever shared something personal only to hear your own words twisted, gossiped, or echoed back to you by someone else? That's not by accident. Some people don't listen to understand. They listen to respond. Some listen to collect information, not to help, but to store and spread. Some listen not because they care, but because your pain gives them something to talk about. People love a good story, especially when it's not their own. They thrive on the drama, the gossip, the illusion of being in the know. And if you keep feeding them your truth, your struggles, your fears, don't be surprised when your life becomes a game of telephone. The more you give, the more they twist. And before you know it, your personal business is being passed around. Like a headline, distorted, exaggerated, no longer even yours. Some people will pretend to care just to keep you talking. They'll ask the right questions, nod at the right moments. They'll seem like they're listening. But what happens next? Do they follow up with real support? Do they protect your confidence? Or do they disappear until the next time they want a front row seat to your life? The wrong people aren't invested in solutions. They're invested in stories. And if you give them too many, you shouldn't be shocked when your truth starts showing up in places it never should have been. Some conflicts don't start because of what happened. They start because too many people knew about it. What could have been a small misunderstanding between two people turns into chaos the moment outsiders get involved. Suddenly opinions fly, sides are taken, and the issue becomes bigger than it ever needed to be. That's why sometimes your silence is your best defense. Because the less you say, the fewer openings you give for trouble to creep in. And in the next part, we'll go even deeper into why restraint, especially during moments of struggle, might just be the key to protecting your peace. In the last part, we talked about how silence protects your peace and your power. But here's the deeper truth. When you stay quiet, you also protect your progress. The more you share, the more chances you give people to twist your words, insert their opinions, or turn your personal life into public drama. And it's not just about keeping your problems to yourself. Sometimes it's about keeping your wins quiet too. Because believe it or not everyone wants to see you succeed. Some people will pretend to be happy for you, but deep down they're hoping you'll fail. The moment they see you rising, when they notice you're doing well, they feel threatened. That's when the whispers start. That's when the subtle negativity creeps in. They'll tell you your ideas are too big, that your dreams are unrealistic, that your goals aren't achievable, not because they actually believe that, but because they're uncomfortable watching you aim higher than they ever dared to. Have you ever noticed how some people only show up when you're struggling? They're full of advice, support, and concern when you're down. But the second you start leveling up, when the momentum shifts, they disappear. Why? Because they were never comfortable with your growth. Some people are only happy when you're on the same level as them, or lower. The moment you begin to rise, their insecurities start to surface. And those insecurities turn into doubt, into jealousy, into small calculated comments meant to chip away at your confidence. But here's the solution. Move in silence. Keep your progress private. Don't give them front row seats to your process. Because the less they know, the less they can interfere. And sometimes peace comes not from avoidance, but from discretion. Not every thought needs to be spoken. Not every situation needs outside opinions. Not every victory needs applause. Peace is born from knowing when to stay quiet, from learning when to protect your energy, and understanding that your business belongs with you. The loudest person in the room is rarely the one making the biggest impact. It's the focused one, the silent one, the one doing the work while everyone else is talking. There's something powerful about a person who doesn't feel the need to explain themselves. Someone who doesn't broadcast every step of their journey. Someone who lets the results speak louder than any words ever could. You ever notice how the most successful people don't make announcements? They don't give long speeches about what they're going to do. They just do it. And when they show up, they've already arrived. That's because real progress happens in private. When you keep your goals to yourself, you eliminate distraction. You silence the doubt. You block out noise and create room to focus. The moment you start announcing your next move too soon, you give others the chance to interfere. Some won't believe in you. They'll project their own limitations onto your life. They'll tell you it's impossible, not because it is, but because they can't picture themselves doing it. Others will smile in your face and cheer you on, while secretly hoping you never follow through. Because your success reminds them of what they never had the courage to chase for themselves. And then there are those who will straight up steal your ideas. You think you're sharing something meaningful, something exciting. Next thing No, someone else is running with it before you even get the chance. It happens all the time. People take what they hear and use it for themselves. And by the time you're ready to launch, they're already ahead. But when you move quietly, when you stay focused, they can't take what they don't know. Talking about your goals can give you a false sense of progress. You say it out loud. People cheer. It feels like you've already accomplished something, but applause without execution? It's just noise. The real work isn't in the announcement, it's in the follow-through and the danger of announcing too. Early as this, once the excitement fades, you're left with the hard part, the actual grind. And often by then, the energy that was supposed to carry you forward is already spent. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't owe the world an explanation. You don't have to defend your dreams or ask for approval. The only thing that matters is the result. When you succeed, they'll see it. When you make it, they'll know. And those who once doubted you, they'll ask how you did it. But by then, it won't matter. Because you didn't do it for them, you did it for you. So don't waste time talking. Don't waste energy explaining. Don't give people the chance to block what they never helped you build. Because in the next part, we'll talk about the moment that truly matters. Not when you say you'll do it, but when it's already done and the results speak for themselves. In the last part, we uncovered why real success doesn't need a spotlight. It just needs your focus. Now, let's talk about what happens when you protect that focus and how silence becomes your strongest shield against interference. Because the truth is, the quieter you stay, the clearer your path becomes. When people don't know what you're working on, they can't slow you down, they can't poke holes in your ideas, they can't plant seeds of doubt in a space where confidence should be growing. There's a unique power that comes with keeping things to yourself. Not because you're hiding, not because you're secretive, but because you're protecting your peace. Privacy isn't about isolation. It's about preserving your energy, your focus, and your ability to evolve without interruption. Because here's what happens. The more people know, the more they think they have a right to speak into your life. And not everyone's opinion deserves your time or your mental space. People love to give advice, even when they're not qualified. The moment you share a goal, a dream, or even a challenge, you invite others to weigh in. And while some may come with support and good intentions, many will only add confusion, noise, or subtle negativity. They'll tell you it won't work, that you're not ready, that someone else already did it better. And even if you don't consciously believe them, those words linger. They replay in your mind when you least expect it, right when you're about to take a leap. Suddenly you're second guessing your next move instead of executing it boldly. Then there are those who pretend to be your biggest supporters, smiling, nodding, saying all the right things, but quietly hoping you'll fail. Why? Because your growth shines a light on their stagnation. And instead of rising with you, they'd rather keep you small. They'll try to guilt you for dreaming bigger, for wanting more, for refusing to settle. That's why protecting your energy isn't just important, it's non-negotiable. Not everyone deserves access to your mind. Not everyone should be allowed inside your plans, your thoughts, your emotions, because the more voices you invite in, the harder it becomes to hear your own. And when you let other people's opinions shape your decisions, you slowly begin to lose control of your own direction. You start waiting for approval when you should be trusting yourself. You hesitate instead of moving forward. And some people, they drain you. And you don't even realize it. They come with complaints, drama, negativity, and suddenly your mind is flooded with problems that have nothing to do with you. Your focus scatters, your vision blurs. You can't build your future if you're constantly carrying the weight of someone else's expectations. Growth requires clarity, discipline, tunnel vision. It requires saying no to noise, to distraction, to unnecessary emotional clutter. And the truth is, not everyone will understand that. But that's okay. You're not here to make everyone comfortable. You're not here to explain your every move. You're here to become who you were meant to be. And that journey doesn't require an audience. The right people will support you without needing constant updates. The wrong ones, they'll fall away when they realize they no longer have access. Because silence isn't weakness. Privacy isn't avoidance. It's strength, it's wisdom. It's the deep understanding that your path is yours alone, and not everyone deserves a front row seat to your transformation. Some things are sacred. Some seasons are meant to be nurtured in solitude, protected from noise until they're strong enough to stand on their own. And when you guard your peace, When you protect your focus, when you stay rooted in your own lane, free from interference, that's when you grow the most. So stay quiet, stay focused, and don't let anyone have more access to your life than they've earned. Because in the next part, we'll talk about how to set those boundaries and how to finally stop feeling guilty for protecting your space.